Christian, thank you for joining us at the festival. It's your second time in the festival, but we have screened many of your films here. So since we know each other for about 7, 8 years, I remember that when we had this annual dinner in Berlin in February, when he told me about your new projects, you used it to speak about a book or a poem. I remember for Undine, then the original book, and then seeing it through the eyes of the short story by Ingeborg Bachmann, and then when you were making Roter Himmel, the poem by Heinrich Heine. But as for this one, I think we missed that dinner because we were launching the Roter Himmel, and you didn't tell me what triggered this film. What was the trigger for this film?
Okay, we have a dinner now. I'm coming directly from a dinner and have two glasses of red wine. And so I have to talk in English. It's getting better with 3 glasses of red wine. Yeah? So the trigger of this story has something to do with the time of the pandemic, I must say. Yeah? For example, one of your collaborators from Lisboa, Catarina, she was in Berlin in this time of the pandemic. She had I think she has a scholarship there.
Yes.
But she had to stay alone in an apartment for half a year. She can't meet anybody, and she fell into totally depression. Yeah? And also my daughter told me about herself and about her friends who came into totally depression. And then after the pandemic, I was in San Sebastián on the film festival, part of the jury, and I saw a Portuguese movie by Miguel Gomes. It's about pandemic. Yeah? I don't like that.
Oh, the Irish, the Otsoga.
Yeah. And then it's a very lonely movie, and there was one party scene at the beginning of the movie with the song of Frankie Valli. I have used this.
The one we hear in the final, in the end.
Yeah. So I thought after this pandemic, I have to make a movie about something where people who are in the loneliness try to come back into the world. This was the first thing. The second thing was my daughter. When she was 4 years old, she always pretended to have something with her stomach in the night because she wants to see TV. Yeah? And I was alone. My wife and my son was I think they were in Turkey at this time. I was alone with my daughter, and it was 9 p.m. and I want to see a football match. Yeah? And she was standing there. Oh, my stomach. Can I see some little bit of TV together with you? So I have to change the channels, yeah, because she don't want to see the football match. And there was a James Bond movie, yeah, and I hate James Bond movies, yeah. But she said, oh, can we see this movie? And I said, okay, it's 20 minutes of James Bond, yeah. And after 5 minutes, she said to me, I love James Bond. And I asked her, why you love James Bond? Yeah, and she said, he can destroy everything and he never has to clean it up. This was a fantastic definition of a part of cinema, to destroy something. Sometimes I like also these Stan and Ollie movies where they destroy everything, or Charlie Chaplin or so, and also sometimes James Bond. But I think nowadays we have to I prefer movies who try to repair something and to clean up something, because these tabula rasa movies, the movie of destroy of the world, or the dystopia movies where we are alone on a planet, or this is Robinson Crusoe thing that we are alone on an island, yeah? You know, because my answers are too long now, yeah? So
no,
because of the,
okay.
I don't have to
translate. No,
it's okay. Control. So, you know, Robinson Crusoe is living on his island for 20 years, and everybody loves this book because he's by himself. He don't have to be responsible for someone. But then he found someone, in the novel it's Friday, and he has to now he's getting, he's his slave, but he has to be responsible for someone. And nobody, in the movies nowadays, nobody wants to be responsible for someone, and I think this movie is about responsibility, and repairing things and repairing souls.
This character of Laura, she's in a kind of depression. But going to the beginning of the film, that is Hitchcockian, as other things in the film, and she is in the bridge, and we think, will she jump? Won't she jump? And then we see it like in Hitchcock's movie. She's next to under the bridge, next to the river. But then she returns home, and then there's this accident. But before the accident, she crosses eyes with Betty, that is played by Barbara Auer, and with his eyes crossing, we see that something will happen, and then she's kind of rescued, and then a story of mirrors. So, why did you choose this title and this piece by Ravel, Miroir numéro 3?
I was in a concert this evening. They played Miroir number 3 in this concert too. I was very impressed by this, also with this interpretation. During my last movie, I heard this piece of music by Maurice Ravel very often, because I think the dramatized organization of this piece of piano music has something to do with cinema. It's always like a refrain who's coming 3 or 4 times, but a little bit changed in this. And I think most movies are a little bit like this. They have a subject, a theme, and it changed a little bit. And the difference is the story. Yeah? And this I told the actors in the last movie. They're not so interested in my theories, I think. Yeah? But the music was in my head. And then I've written down the script, and I asked some friends, and also the editor, Bettina Böhler, I asked, I can't find have a working title in Miroirs number 3 because of this music, but nobody loves this title. And she said, it's a good title, yeah? And so I went to the producer and said, let's take Miroir number 3 as the title. And he said, this is a really bad title, because everybody's asking, where's number 2? And then I said to him, you know, when Marilyn Monroe was asked what she's wearing in the night, if she's wearing a pajama or a skirt, she said, I'm just wearing Chanel number 5. Yeah? And I said this answer to him, and he was totally confused and said, okay, it's a good answer. But until today, I don't understand why he said yes to this title. I like this title because the mirror thing is something to do with the movie. Yeah? Because in this Jean Cocteau movie of Fée, the mirror is the borderline between life and death. And at the beginning, when she's on the bridge and see to the water, is also a little bit like this, one step and you are on the other side. And on the other side, there is the dead daughter. This was my idea in my head.
And then this history of the mirror continues, because when the story develops, and she is the kind of the mirror of the dead daughter.
This was the idea. And the other thing was, I remember yesterday I arrived here in Lisboa, and I remember 26 years ago I was here I made a movie here, yeah? My first movie for cinema, and all these things come back into my mind. Cascais, where our hotel was, yeah? Prada di Guincho, where we are shooting the surface. A dead dolphin was lying there on the beach, and he explodes after 3 days. Yeah? And I remember all these things, and I remember also that this very expensive hotel I'm living now for these 3 nights, we were so poor because it was our first movie. We stand in front of this hotel, Lapa Palace. Lapa Palace was the name of the hotel. And we want to be, I asked the producer, it's the same producer with the Chanel number 5, right? I asked him, can we please one night in this fantastic hotel with the view to the ocean and the ships, it's something to do with our movie, and so, and he went inside and came out and said it's too expensive. And then on my next script I have written down a dialogue, and the dialogue, young women asking older women, "Do you have seen my girlfriend?" And the older woman answered, "She is with my husband in Lapa Palace Hotel for fucking." Yeah, so I have some roots here in Lisbon.
But speaking of the 3, so the number in the Miroir 3, could we say that because at the beginning, when there's the water, we could, and there's this guy coming, we could think of Undine in a certain way because of the water. You start with the water. Then when she arrives to that house in the country, we could think of Roter Himmel because of the house in the middle of the forest. Is this a third film continuing those?
Yes, I think so. Later I have the same feelings. I must say something. I was born in a town near Düsseldorf in West Germany. There are 2 rivers near my town. Yeah? One river is the River Rhine, a very big river, and the other river is Wupper, from Wuppertal. Yeah? And these two rivers are something to do with cinema, because the River Rhine is a river where ships are on, yeah? And bringing things from Germany to Amsterdam or from Switzerland to Amsterdam. So on the River Rhine, the director Wim Wenders was born. So his movies are road movies, because all these ships are telling you the story. There is a fantastic country. There are fantastic countries in the outside of this our world. And on the other river, the River Wupper, it's a very wild river. Yeah? There are no ships on the river, but this river is a borderline. So in Germany, everybody who's dying, they say about him, he's going over the Wupper. It's like the Styx. Yeah? So it's the borderline between life and death. And so cinema is something to do with the road movies and the borderline between life and death. And so these 2 rivers are describing a little bit my identity. And on the beginning of this movie, when she's there on the bridge and staring to the water, and she's going down to the canal, yeah, it's a very ugly place in Berlin under the highway. And there's this guy with a, I don't know the word in English, with a stand-up paddler or something. Yeah, so,
a paddler.
Yeah. And there is a romantic German heritage by Arnold Böcklin and so on, that these people are bringing the dead bodies to the other side. Mm. And so in this moment, she's on the border between life and death. Yeah? And but she's not passing this border. She's going back into her apartment, and she's passing another border, not into the death, but into another identity. The second thing I was interested in was when you are on a... Oh, this wine was fantastic. I have another glass now later.
After the Q&A.
After my work. When you are in Berlin, when you are on a party, and now I'm more than 60 years old, there are not so much parties left. But when I'm on a party, yeah, and you're sitting or standing near the fridge in the kitchen, yeah, and there's a new guy there, and you're talking to him. The first question is, what's your name? What are you doing? What's your profession? What are you doing here? So after 10, 15 seconds, you have to show your visa, your passport in these parties. But these two women here in the movie, Betty and Laura, they just say their names, Laura and Betty, and not more, no profession, not where you're coming from, what is your father is doing, and so on. And this gives you freedom. Yeah? You don't have the whole luggage on your shoulders of identity, profession, and this is something she likes so much, and therefore she's staying there. Yeah? She knows there's something wrong. After the next morning, the older woman, Betty, called her Jelena, so she has to know that there's something wrong, that their shoes are the same. She could wear the shoes of dead or something like this, or their daughter, but she likes to stay there without a family name, without a profession, just in this contemporary moment. This, I think, is something, therefore she's very angry at the end. This 4 days of freedom has passed away.
But one thing that you told me about this film, it was when we met this year in February in Berlin, and you were about finishing the editing of your film. At the time, you were not sure where the film was going to be premiered, and later, so I saw it in Cannes. But when we met, you told me, because you had just done it, you had reshot the end. And why?
This was a big mistake I made in the script. In this time of, I must say, of Ukraine war, Gaza, 7th of October, in this time I've written a script with a happy end, I must say. At the end, in the script, the family is eating their eggs on the porch, yeah? like you can see it here too. But then they jump up like before in the movie, when these shit neighbors are passing the street. And but they jumped up, but she's standing there at the end. And I have written down
Laura
with the luggage.
Yeah. After the concert.
After the concert. And I've written down in the script the sentence: she opens the door and she enters the room of the family. I was so proud about this sentence. It was very pathetic, and I think. And then Paula Bear and Enno Treves, the two young actors, are coming to my place. They want to talk with me, and about the end. Yeah, and we have problems with the end. And I don't like actors who are talking with me about my script. Yeah? So, but I like them so much because this was our fourth collaboration. Yeah? So I said, okay, you can come to my place and we can talk. Yeah? I was really was angry. And they come to my place and they were very shy, and then we have some problems with the end. And I said the sentence: this is one of the best final scenes I ever have written in my life. Yeah? So it was a very short visit at my office, and they are leaving like as if they have knocked them down. Yeah? So during the shooting of the final scene, she's standing there at the fence, yeah, with her luggage. I know it exactly in this moment this was a shit ending. I know it, yeah. But I was so proud about this shit sentence in this script that I don't talk with anybody about my doubts, yeah. So, and then at the editing table, I know this is the worst thing I ever made in my life. Because what could this movie what is this movie about? That a young girl wants to be a daughter? This is not independence, it's nothing. Yeah? And so it was November in Berlin, and when you have a depression in November in Berlin, you were really near suicide. Yeah? So, and I was there for 2 weeks and I was thinking, and my wife was also, she wants to kick my ass because I'm always, well, I've done some shit. So, yeah? And then Bettina Böhler, the editor, had just take the opening scene at the end, just to open my mind for something new. And then I have the idea she's going back half a year later into her apartment, and she's someone else, and she's by herself, and the family is also by herself. This is not a happy end, but it's an ending where you understand people who are traumatized or hurt or scared, yeah? But at the end they're by themselves and they can live on. Yeah? So and then I give a phone call to Paula Bear. Yes, it was, I think it was Christmas. Also a very depressing time in Berlin, and I said to her, we have to shoot the ending new, and I like her so much because she don't make a reaction like, I have to tell you in February. She said, okay, we can do it, but there's one problem. And then I expect something like that. There's one problem. And she said, no, I'm pregnant 8 months. So I said, but it's not a problem. We just need your face. Yeah? So we shoot this in February, at the first week of February, 2 weeks before we meet in the restaurant, and she was totally different. You can see it a little bit. She is beautiful in another way because. So I like it, and so she's also a little bit like Laura. She's by herself. She doesn't need directors anymore, cinema anymore. She's now a mother by herself, and she's proud about that. And you can see it in her face. And so I was lucky.
Well, now we can open up to the audience.
You know, until '89. In Berlin, we are surrounded in West Berlin by a wall. Yeah? We have no nature, we have just a city. There are some parks and so, but there is no country outside the wall. We have to leave Berlin and go to West Germany to find a forest or something like that. When the wall falls down, we have now new country around Berlin. And so many of the West Berlin people with money, they bought their houses. Yeah? They bought houses there. They want to live like people in Paris or people in Lisbon or people in Roma. They want to have a country house, a partie de campagne like this. Yeah? But the Germans, they don't have a bourgeoisie after 45 because the fascists have destroyed everything. And so they build their houses, yeah, and they renovate houses there, yeah. But they're young couples with money and 1 or 2 children. These houses are dreams. Yeah? At the end of their renovation, they divorced, yeah, because it's always the same after 3-4 years of renovation of a house. One of the family members said, "Now we want to live here in this shit for the next year." So these houses are standing there a little bit like broken dreams. And I think cinema is always about broken dreams. And can we reimagine what we try to realize with our dreams? It's something like this. And so in this, our journeys through the outskirts of Berlin, this movie starts a little bit, the idea of the movie. I don't know if this answer was quite okay, but I tried.
And how do you choose your locations?
Yeah, there is a, I must say, this part I've never been before, Uckermark. This is in the north of Berlin, and this is the best part of this ugly part of Germany, Brandenburg, where 45% of the people are electing fascist parties, and they have bad moods, and the food is shit there, and so many artists have bought their houses. Wim Wenders has a house 5 kilometers away. Volker Köpp, a documentary filmmaker, has a house there. Many people are living there, but then they're not part of the social life there. They're isolated in their houses. They come with their own food, with their own music, with their own friends. For Friday, Saturday, and on Sunday they go back to Berlin. And this is an interesting end. You have these houses like castles of the rich, or yeah, and the other people around are fascists, assholes, and dumb persons. Yeah? And so I like it, and I was there with a friend, and we have a bicycle with me, and I said, could be very good. There's one isolated family. They have books, they have a porch. And you know, in Germany, if someone is building a house, they build the the terrace or the porch in the back of the house, not in the front. They take it in the back because the family must be by itself, and they make fences very high, like in a jail, yeah? So no neighbor could look at them. Yeah? But I want to show a family who has the porch to the street, who are open-minded, who wants to live in a new way. Yeah? Therefore, yeah, these neighbors are coming and staring at them with jealousy and so on, because they are not like the others. This was the idea I found with my bicycle on my tour through this part of Germany I never want to live in.
Hi. I was a bit dazzled by the final you just talked about, but particularly about the curtain. The curtain at the end. The curtain at the end. For you was a sort of a link at the final between Laura and the family, or it worked just like her entering in the room and it was her imagination going back that time, or can you explain?
This is interesting because we had talked about this curtain more than 10 hours with the whole team. Yeah? Yeah? I never want to talk this with the audience because they think I'm crazy, but it's really like this. This curtain was made by artists, yeah? The colors, you can't buy them in a shop. And they made by artists because this curtain was important for me. Yeah? I know exactly from the beginning that this curtain, you have a borderline between life and death, and you have a borderline by a mirror, and you have also a borderline by a curtain, because the curtain is always the borderline between the inside and the outside. But this borderline there's the wind inside. And you know, wind in movies. This was one of the 10-hour discussion I had with the team. Yeah? Wind in movies. Okay, I started now. That could be 2 hours. Yeah? There are two kinds of winds in movies. There's the wind which is going through ruins, empty houses, like in the Western movies, yeah? Where the windows are broken and old curtains are in the wind. And also there's a wind in movies who's refreshing the ideas. Yeah? The winds of a change, the winds of something new. Yeah? So this curtain is the borderline between something is dying and something is refreshing. This was my idea. Yeah? So therefore, and the other thing was, I want to have the same curtain at the end. So the world of things, yeah? And the world of curtains, the world of wind, everything is going on and on. But something in the human beings had changed. It's the same curtain at the beginning, at the end of the movie, but this woman who is staring at the curtain is totally different. Therefore, to show her difference, you have to have the same curtain. I'm not an esoteric guy. I think it was, I like my own ideas sometimes. This moment of the story, I identified myself with him for a moment to understand what is happening in his psychology structure. It's sort of like this. He is there as a son with in a traumatic family. Yeah? He's not in Berlin. He had stopped his studying. He's part of the construction era of who has to be an assistant to his father. Yeah? He has no life, like James Stewart in A Wonderful Life, a little bit like this. Yeah? So, and then a girl is coming, yeah? And he likes the girl, and the girl liked him, and they watched each other. They're hearing music together. Yeah? But on the other side, if he's telling the girl the truth, there is no love affair anymore. If he just wants to fuck with her or kiss her, it's incest because it's his sister. So he's in such a bad situation that the only thing he can say is, "Don't touch me," and I tell you the truth, and everything's finalized. There is no possibility of a talk show for him. I'm really I've discussed it with the actor who's also fighting for another possibility, but there was no, he was very depressed after our discussion.
Is there another question? We could end with something not so depressing. Okay, thank you.